everybody. Welcome inside the MRN Studios here in Concord, North Carolina. It is another edition of NASCAR Coast to Coast, where we break down all things NASCAR regional and short track racing across the country from coast to coast. My name is Chris Wilner, MRN Pit Reporter, back with you once again. We are on the doorstep of the 2025 NASCAR National Series season openers at the Daytona International Speedway. Of course, MRN will be your home for all things Speed Weeks coming up the rest of the week, so we'll get to that schedule in just a little bit. But boy, we've got a great episode too. We've got World Series of Asphalt down at New Smyrna Speedway, hot and heavy in the middle of their 9-day stretch run of action around that short track. And then, of course, we've got our ARCA Menards Series, our flagship NASCAR regional program, getting ready for their season opener at Daytona. We've got a full preview where we're going to hear from a lot of the drivers getting ready to take on the big super speedway oval there in Daytona, some for the first time as they kick off the ARCA Menards Series season in 2025. But of course, we start things with the weekend that was, and boy, what a weekend to kick off the World Series of Asphalt. For the 40th time, it was the NASCAR Whelen Modified National Tour for the Modifieds, and boy, they had a great race to kick off 2025.
The green flag comes out. Emerling surges to the race lead. Bonsignor looking for second as they head for turn 2.
Austin Pierce opens up the bottom side, tries to get a run on Craig Lutz, who slams the door. They both go after Patrick Emerling in turn number 3.
Here comes Lutz trying to be on the defense. He'll come to the line this time by 1 lap to go for Patrick Emerling as Baldwin hits the wall off turn number 4, but it's Patrick Emerling to lead the way in turn 2.
X flag will end the race, and Emerling opens up a 5-car length advantage down the back straightaway. Lutz will run second, and they are single file off of turn number 4.
Off turn 4, though, Patrick Emerling's going to hold on and score his 8th career Whelen Modified Tour victory at New Smyrna. And meanwhile, Mark Stewart, hard lick into the outside wall off turn 4.
And yes, the season opener won by Patrick Emerling. Boy, what a start to the year for Patrick and his team. Of course, last year, if you recall, here on Coast to Coast, we had him on late in the season. He won a couple of them in the row, had a shot at maybe the championship if it wasn't for some early miscues in the season, but really climbed the point standings to finish in the top 5, and then, of course, now kicks off as a championship favorite after winning at New Smyrna Speedway for the New Smyrna Beach Area Visitors Bureau 200. Of course, he had also come from the back in this race, if you remember as well. So Patrick was able to drive through the field and get the win. Justin Bonsignor, of course, was a big favorite going into the race. He came back from a lap down to finish in the 3rd spot. And we talked about last week on the show, Craig Lutz is somebody to keep our eyes on in the 2025 Whelen Modified Tour season. He had not visited Victory Lane since the Tour finished in this race 2022, and he finished 2nd. So Craig Lutz, another force to be reckoned with here at the early onset of 2022. How about Luke Baldwin as well, the son of Tommy Baldwin, making his Rookie of the Year campaign, kicking it off at New Smyrna. Had a little bit of a miscue with Tommy Baldwin, his dad, over the radio. Talked to him after the race, and they said they thought they were going to come down and pit. He stayed out because they had some muffled in the radio and unfortunately ended up 4th, but it could have been a win for Luke Baldwin as the Tour gets their season going. What a great kickstart to the 2025 season. Speaking of World Series of Asphalt, also, we mentioned 9 straight nights of racing well underway. They've had at least 3 as we record this episode here of Coast to Coast early in the week, and a lot of new winners coming to the forefront at New Smyrna Speedway. But it was also not without some drama, some little drama in the tech shed, actually, to kickstart New Smyrna in the World Series of Asphalt. Not 1, but 2 drivers got busted for technical infractions by Ricky Turner, the chief technical officer down there for Speed Weeks. And I tell you what, it was William Sawalich who got disqualified first Friday in the Super Late Model event, and then Connor Jones got busted in the Pro Late Model race also on Friday to kickstart the week. So that handed wins for the Super Late Models to Carson Brown, and then on the Pro Late Model side of things, Hunter Wright picked up his first of 2 wins on the weekend in the Pro Late Model events. So some drama early, but then there was some really good racing between Spencer Davis, who picked up a Pro Late Model win on Saturday. Hunter Wright picked up a Pro Late Model win on Sunday for his 2nd of the week. Super Late Models complemented Sunday's action on Super Bowl Sunday with Corey Hall leading all 35 laps, but really good runs throughout the field, including Jade Avedisian, a driver we're going to talk a lot about as well, going from the dirt side to the pavement side for Toyota Development. She picked up a solid second-place finish on Sunday. And still to come, by the way, at the World Series of Asphalt, as they lead into Daytona 500 weekend, we've got the ASA Stars National Tour and the Clyde Hart Memorial coming up on Tuesday. We record this on Monday, so it's already going to happen as you guys listen to this episode, but a big, big ASA Stars National Tour event to kick off that part of the week. Some other winners in the NASCAR regional segment to talk about. Matt Cox won at Florence in the Icebreaker 225 to kick off their season at Florence Motor Speedway in South Carolina. Matt Cox, a big win for him down there in South Carolina, but also on the pro late model side of things, the limited late model, it was Keelan Harvick. 1-for-1 in his pro late model effort, of course, as he moves up the ranks in his racing career. Keelan was able to get the win at Florence Motor Speedway in the Icebreaker. And then, of course, on the dirt side of things, we have to mention Kyle Larson doing Kyle Larson things. 2 wins at Volusia down there, just not too far from Daytona International Speedway. Picked up 2 sprint car wins, including the big one in the finale on Saturday to pick up the Big Gator, his first Big Gator at Volusia. One of those wins, though, came against Christopher Bell. So will we see a translation of that rivalry on the dirt track side that's been revamped with Christopher Bell now back in the fold to translate maybe over to the Cup side? We'll have to find out coming up on Sunday in the Great American Race. Also, some news this week in the NASCAR Regional World. Kyle Steckley did sign with Rhett Jones Racing. He's going to partake in the full ARCA Menards Series season, or partial ARCA Menards Series season, and then, of course, he's going to run the full ASA Stars National Tour for Rhett Jones Racing. So another driver on the up and up in the regional schedule. Well, I mentioned ARCA, and they're going to be the first to really get us going on racing action at Daytona International Speedway coming up on Saturday. We've got a full ARCA preview coming up on the flip side of the break. We're going to talk to a lot of the drivers and get their thoughts about racing at the World Center of Racing as ARCA begins their series here on Saturday. So the full ARCA preview going to come up as we take a quick break here on NASCAR Coast to Coast on the Motor Racing Network.
3, 2, 1, start your engine!
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi.
Tell them we got it!
Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory.
Go, baby!
The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on MRN. I'm Chris Wilner, and as mentioned, it is time for our ARCA Menards Series preview for 2025, a series that is going to kickstart at Daytona International Speedway on Saturday for the first time on National Network TV. That's right, Fox is going to air ARCA on Saturday afternoon at about noon on Saturday, and it is going to be absolutely fantastic. We had a full preseason test back in January. We had 50-plus race cars take to the racetrack at Daytona. A lot of drivers getting their first laps behind the wheel of a full-bodied stock car at Daytona, going 170 miles an hour plus at the big track, and to kind of get their feet wet on what could be a big, big weekend for ARCA, and we may have a possibility of a first-time win or two as well coming up on Saturday. Some news going into ARCA, though. The full new look for Venturini Motorsports. We talked about last year. It was kind of a rebuilding year for Venturini Motorsports with 5 drivers in the stable rotating different rides. We even had some one-off drivers come through the stable over the last year and a half or so. But this year, they've got a new look with Lawless Allen kind of leading their stable of race cars as the full-time effort for Venturini Motorsports. Of course, Lawless has plenty of experience running the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series the last several years. This year, he's going to tackle the full slate for ARCA, trying to go for a championship for Venturini Motorsports. Jake Finch back in the saddle as well, with Isabella Robusto, who had a really good breakout season last year. She finished on the podium in an ARCA West race, as well as several top 10 runs over the course of the 2024 season. Isabella back behind the wheel of a Venturini Motorsports Toyota. Chase Prisonal as well, going to make his maiden voyage in ARCA for select starts in 2025. So new look for Venturini as several of the drivers have graduated onto the National Series. Some other offseason storylines. LeVar Scott's going to be primed as the favorite for the championship as he finished second to his teammate Andres Perez last year for Rev Racing. So LeVar Scott is back and, of course, almost won at Daytona a year ago as well with a top 5 finish. Brendan Queen, Butterbean, moving up from the Cars Tour to a full-time ARCA effort. We'll also see him in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series as well. And ARCA, an ARCA regular finally win during the regular season. We'll have to find out because last year They were 0 for 13 as a lot of the one-off drivers like William Sawalich as well as Connor Zilic picked up wins on the national slate. So we'll see if a regular can finally get to victory lane in 2025. Superstar lineup coming up for you at Daytona. Elio Castroneves going to make his ARCA debut at the big track before attempting to race in the Daytona 500. Catherine Legg is back. We talked to her as well. She's in the preseason mix and also is in the fold for her ARCA 200 start coming up on Saturday. William Sawalich back behind the wheel of a JGR Toyota, and much, much more. It's a star-studded entry list coming up on Saturday. But like I mentioned, more than 50 drivers hit the racetrack back in January for the full ARCA test. The Road to Daytona program as well for a lot of NASCAR regional drivers getting their first experience behind the wheel of an ARCA Menards Series race car at the World Center of Racing. And boy, I tell you what, it was a star-studded pack of field that took part in that test session. LeVar Scott, Catherine Legg, Corey Day, Burt Myers, just some of the names we got a chance to talk to over the course of that couple of days of testing in Daytona. And they recap right now all the action preseason as they get set to run in the ARCA 200 on Saturday.
As a kid, you always watch the Daytona 500. So to be able to race here was super cool. It wasn't completely what I expected. The TV really doesn't do this place a justice at all. And, even looking at it when you're not on the racetrack, just, looking at the corners, it doesn't do it justice until you're actually out there. So, I thought it was super cool. Like I said, it's any kid's dream to be able to run Daytona, for at least my whole life it's been. So super cool. Check that one off.
Honestly, I didn't think it would be as daunting as it was, but when I rolled out of pit lane this morning, I was quite apprehensive. I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. And you have to get up to speed so fast because otherwise you get run over and all the things. But feel super comfortable now. And it was one of the best days I've had in a long time. I can't stop grinning from ear to ear because it is so much fun, honestly. Like the team were amazing, super amazing. Like everybody, Grant Empfinger, he helped get me up to speed. Like they made it super seamless and yeah, it's totally different to anything I've ever done before, but it's also super awesome. And now I can't wait for tomorrow.
So we have my son has iRacing at home, and he said, Dad, you want to come run the ARCA car at Daytona? And honestly, he kicks my butt on iRacing because even though he has the butt kicker and you can feel, the shake and whatnot, I can see it slow down and I can see it speed up, but I can't feel it. I can't feel it. And as an old school driver, I have to feel it. So to me, to be able to relate that to this, I just don't know that there's any relation. I've driven a truck at Martinsville one time. I've run several late model races and stuff. So I feel like I adapted well. But like I said, man, I'm ready to climb in and go fast and have a good time.
This off season was a little bit too long for me. I was starting to get bored, but it was good. Like you said, we had really good speed here before, a good chance to win it back in 23, and then obviously a chance to win it last year and got wrecked in the last lap, but it's part of it. But this year we kind of made some changes to the car to make it even better than it was, and we're just fine-tuning that, and I think that's why we're here to test, to try new things, make some mistakes, and get better, and it's just part of it, but it was definitely a positive day.
Well, a driver you're going to hear a lot about in 2025 in multiple facets of NASCAR regional and national series racing is going to be sprint car phenom Corey Day. He's making the transition to full-body stock cars after signing a full development deal with Hendrick Motorsports, a multi-year deal, in fact, back in January before the Chili Bowl. We caught up with Corey Day at the Daytona test for ARCA to get his thoughts on transitioning to ARCA and his outlook on the season.
I think just, overall racecraft, throwing slide jobs and crossing people over and, the dirty air in a sprint car is huge. Whereas, it's not even close to, this isn't even as close to how bad the sprint cars are. So just overall racecraft, I feel like when I'm out on a pavement track, if, all those guys were on dirt, I could outrace them because of, my time on the dirt and the racecraft I've gained. So, I think that's the biggest thing. And then, just feeling, a sprint car and a half mile, you feel a lot of the aero side of things. So that was good, having a little bit of a feel for that when I got to these bigger, pavement tracks.
Well, Corey Day isn't the only one making a transition to stock cars in 2025. Sports car and open wheel phenom Catherine Legg has competed in all sorts of facets of racing in her illustrious career, and she broke down why ARCA, at this point of her career, makes sense.
I've been lucky enough to have done some of the coolest races in the whole world, and this is one of them. And I, yeah, I actively seeked out, I would say, if that's the right sentence, if that's English, seeked out, I don't know, the opportunity, and I'm hoping that it will lead to some more stock car things in the future.
Well, the last driver we talked to at preseason testing is LeVar Scott, the Rev Racing driver, of course, coming in as the favorite to possibly take home an ARCA Menards Series championship, back with Rev Racing for another full-time series effort. He finished second a year ago in the national standings, and he's looking for his first career win after coming oh so close several times last season. He broke down his 2024 rookie season with Rev Racing and maybe what it's going to take to get to that next step and not only go for a first career win, but go for a championship.
I need a win. No, I don't know. The biggest takeaway was about myself was just patience. If you just put yourself in the right positions, the wins are going to come. I remember like the Elko win when I had my closest chance to getting a win. I just was patient the whole race. I just kind of let the race come to me. I didn't overdrive the car, underdrive the car. I just was patient, and stuff happened for me to get in that position, and I almost capitalized with a win. If I keep doing that, I think the win will come eventually. And after that, you know how it is. After the first win, the more and more stuff piling on. So, but yeah, and then obviously I really want to chase the championship, and that goes back to just not making mistakes, being patient, and just letting the race come to you. And if you have a sixth place car, try to finish sixth or fifth. If you have a sixth place car, don't go out there and try to finish third and wreck. You know what I mean? So, little things like that, learning are going to set myself up to get wins and be a championship driver.
Well, that was the sights and sounds from the Daytona preseason test. Appreciate all the drivers for joining us and looking forward to seeing them on the racetrack as they get set for the Ride the Dente 200, the ARCA Menards Series opener on Saturday afternoon, noon on MRN. And, of course, speaking of MRN, that's not the only thing from Daytona we've got you covered. We got everything, beginning with the duels on Thursday. Here's a look at your Speed Week schedule for the Motor Racing Network's live coverage from Daytona. As I mentioned, 6 p.m. will be duels 1 and 2 for the NASCAR Cup Series. We're going to find out the official starting lineup and who of the open cars races their way in to the Great American Race. Then a double dip on Friday. Cup Series practice at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, followed by the Fresh from Florida 250 as the Craftsman Truck Series begin their 2025 season. Ty Majeski beginning his title defense at the World Center of Racing. We've got you covered on MRN at 7 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, it is a triple dip affair the day before the Daytona 500, beginning with the ARCA Menards Series. As mentioned, the Chili's Ride the Dente 200. Noon Eastern Time on MRN will be the coverage of that flag-to-flag action before we get to Cup Series final practice, or as we used to call happy hour, from the World Center of Racing at 3 p.m. Eastern, and that all leads into the late afternoon finale of the NASCAR Xfinity Series season opener, the United Rentals 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and then, of course, that all leads into the Great American Race. NASCAR Live Race Day gets you set for the Daytona 500, 1:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Guess everything is on MRN. We've got the full crew ready to go and bring you the Great American Race as the Cup Series begins 2025. Looking forward to bringing you all the action from Daytona. For our producer, Pat Jaggers, my name is Chris Warner. Thanks for tuning in to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on MRN. We'll see you next week where we'll break it all down once again.